Hey, thanks again for pressing play, and welcome once again to another edition of the Suns Jam Session Podcast, the original post-game podcast on Planet Orange, shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019. My name is John Voida, managing editor of Bright Side of the Sun. If you get a chance, head over to brightsideofthesun.com. Some great content is being put out there by our writing team, everything from player bio and reviews from this past season to reliving some of the old off seasons of days gone past, 2010, 2011. We're going through all of the old chapters, Matthew, and one of the crazy things to do, and when you go back and you look upon the annals of Suns history, is it always ends with the same words, and they lost.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, pretty depressing, man. I don't even know how to start this one. What's going on? Hey, everybody out there. Suns Jam Session Podcast.
It's Matthew
How we doing?
Matthew Lissy on the Twitter sphere.
How are we doing?
We're doing
some
we-
last
we
minute
doing all
notes
right.
added in there.
Oh, okay. Matthew's writing notes. It's going to be a fun episode on this one. Obviously, you would think that a month after the Suns season was announced down on arrival, that we would enter the lull that is the off season. We're watching other teams play and vie for a championship. As we're recording this, the Dallas Mavericks appear to be on their way to their second NBA Finals appearance, their first since 2011, because they are whooping up on the Minnesota Timberwolves, the team that eliminated the Phoenix Suns. And you'd think that the Suns talk would just subside for now. We'd have a little draft talk here and there.
Yeah.
Hell, we might not even have a reason to record the podcast. But no, the Suns are in the news. They are linked to LeBron James. LeSeriously, is this happening? We're going to talk about that and more on this edition of the Suns Jam Session Podcast. So a reminder, subscribe, rate, review, do all that fun stuff. Help all the other people on the interwebs know that if you want to hang out with a couple of guys who want to talk Suns, Suns Jam Session is a place to do it. A reminder, 46.9% of the people who watched this podcast in the last month not subscribed. So just hit the subscribe button or don't. But if you don't, my voice goes higher and higher, and all of a sudden I become Kermit the Frog here. So, Kermit came out of nowhere. But subscribe, do all that fun stuff. It's summertime here in Arizona. It's 102 today. Did you feel that heat wave, brother?
Yeah, actually, I went home early today with a migraine, so I felt it on the way out. I did. Feeling okay though now. I didn't want to start the pod just feeling sorry for myself and talking about my migraines again, but here we are.
That's exactly what you did.
Yep, my bad. But you guys go ahead, subscribe for me for my good health, and that'll help me. Prayers, put them aside, and just subscribe.
And grab a little bottle of mini Tito's, like I got right here.
Here we go.
Give it a little crack ski. I hope everyone heard that. It sounded like a frog cracking a knuckle. And then get a nice copper mug and pour that vodka in. And let's start the show. Note to self, Matthew. If you're going to do what I just did and you pour the vodka right on top, give it a stir before you take a swig ski. Whew, that's straight vodka to the brain, my friend. That's so, you're on mute. It's so, whoo. Still on mute.
How is that possible, man?
There you go.
How many shows have we done? I've never been on mute going out after the intro. That's really embarrassing. But I'm saying it's to be wet and wild today with you over there. Not waiting for it to sink to the bottom or stir it up, dude.
I just went right for it. I was thirsty.
Oh,
thirsty. I wanted one of those delicious sips of a Moscow Mule, and whoo, I got it.
One.
Which, of course, brings me to my first question.
Matthew, I've got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Yes.
LeBron, is this happening?
Oh, my goodness.
Your audio's funny. You're not coming out of your mic.
Oh, I'm not? Okay. Well, you want to answer your own question really quick?
Well, It's interesting. Obviously, we talked about this a little bit on the back end of our last podcast when we were doing trade machine Yusuf Nurkic. And we asked that question because the rumors were starting to heat up. So, Matthew, again, I got to ask LeBron, is this happening?
Is this happening? We've seen this in the past with LeBron. I hope I sound a little bit better. I did adjust something there. We've seen it in the past with Aldridge, where the Suns kind of are in the middle of things. We've seen it with Kobe Bryant, right? Yep. We always get kind of pulled. We're like right in the middle of everything between mom and dad. We're just like, come on, guys, just decide. Do you want to actually have the star or not? Are we just getting suckered into something else? I think this is actually something that's legit now, just because we have Kevin Durant, just because we get guys on this team because of Devin Booker. So I feel like we can feed into it a little bit more. But it's interesting, like how much I feel like even the media and everyone is pushing him to the Suns. When you're in LA, that's definitely a spot where you want to be. But with Bronny James coming out of the draft, now he's not in high school, not playing at USC anymore. Why would you want to be in LA? You're not making movies anymore, LeBron. Phoenix is the place to be now, man. They're cooling down the weather. They're making sure that it's cloudy out, that it's raining once in a while to keep it cooler. So when he comes out here, it'll maybe stay below 105. We'll see about that. But they're making it like LA out here. So it's the new LA. And I can kind of see it just being true, just because I think LeBron James might want to win a title. And he's looking at any kind of roster. If there's a way that he can join this team with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant, and you got 2 more years, why the hell not?
It's interesting because you brought up some scars, right? LaMarcus Aldridge, I'll never forget us not getting LaMarcus Aldridge. 2015, 4th of July weekend, we were all sitting around hoping, wishing, praying that the Suns could acquire an all-star talent like LaMarcus Aldridge. The team was ready to put a banner up downtown welcoming him to the new-look Phoenix Suns because they had debuted their new jerseys, and ultimately he went to the San Antonio Spurs. Kobe Bryant back in 2004 when he was kind of having his tussle with Shaquille O'Neal and was mentioning that he wanted out and he was courting other teams. The Phoenix Suns were right there. You go back and you look, LeBron James before. He's done it to us before, where when he became a free agent, both going into Miami and then coming out of Miami into Cleveland, he talked with the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Garnett was somebody who the Suns almost had an opportunity to get. There's other guys who we had opportunities to get via trade, but it's the free agents that have always kind of eluded us, right? And I love what TF Time P says. You guys wanted Aldridge that bad? What the fuck?
Yes.
Do you remember the Suns in 2015?
Yes.
Who the fuck was the star on that team?
We wanted anybody. And it kind of reminded me of the Blake Griffin thing where the Clippers, they got him back. They showed him his name up there or his number up there. You remember that when Blake Griffin went back to the Clippers, he signed there because they suckered him back and they traded him like the same year. So he missed out on that too.
But he was rumored to be coming here as well.
Exactly. Never met with the Suns though. But Aldridge was one where we were excited and we definitely avoided something there because I don't think he had a great season after that offseason.
100%. And again, if you look at the history of the Phoenix Suns, we aren't a huge free agent destination. And I mean, obviously the biggest and first free agent was Tom Chambers, one of the first guys to truly test the free agent market back in 1988, came to the Suns, an all-star with the Seattle Supersonics, ends up here in Phoenix. Steve Nash came back in 03-04. After that season, came back to Phoenix as a free agent. But the majority of the big players that we have rostered throughout the history of the franchise have either been drafted here or traded here. Chris Paul came via trade. Kevin Durant came via trade. Bradley Beal came via trade. Now, all three wanted to be here and somewhat forced their hands, but in all three of those situations, the Suns had to give up something in order to get them. Kevin Durant, massive overhaul, giving up wing depth and picks. Bradley Beal, you give up the Chris Paul contract, you give up the Landry Shamet, but you're giving up picks. And Chris Paul, we got rid of Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Kelly Oubre, and a couple picks in there. One I don't think came to fruition. But there's not very many instances in Suns history where we've executed the free agent pickup. And that's why as we go through this conversation, I guess I'll start by saying I'm tentative with this because I feel like Phoenix, the Suns organization, we have constantly throughout our history been the leverage piece. Blake Griffin, great example. We were the leverage piece. Blake's like, dude, I'm fucking out of here. I'm going to Phoenix. He meets here. He has a great meeting. They come back. They got his jersey up there. They're doing everything they can. And what happens? Of course, he signs there and they trade him later that season. So time and again, we've had this history of being courted by major names, but never actually have it come to fruition. Now, obviously, when we talk about the LeBron James scenario, it's very, very different because of a couple different reasons. One, the situation is unlike anyone that we've ever seen, right, Matthew? Because it's his son who is going to be a draft eligible player, and LeBron James is supposedly wanting to fulfill one of the few hurdles he has left in his career, and that is to play with his son. That's not anything we've ever seen before, is it?
No, and it's definitely something that he wants to accomplish. With Bronny coming out, though, Shams Charania was on the Pat McAfee show. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. He did say the Suns are actually just interested in Bronny. Like, if it's not a LeBron thing, they are actually interested in him fitting in with the team at that number 22 pick. And I don't know. I don't think that reminds me of Blake Griffin's brother that we drafted, and I don't remember his first name because Taylor Griffin. I remember getting him, so it's almost the same thing. So it makes sense for the Suns to do that. You get, because is it Bryce James? Is it Bryce, the other LeBron James son?
His middle son, who's actually
who's actually pretty
better.
Good. Yeah, so that'll be the one another team gets. Maybe the Mavericks. Who knows? So the Suns will get Bronny, but yeah, so I think that the other story too is like just him playing with his son too. Like that's gonna be fucking crazy and kind of maybe weird in the locker room for a lot of teammates. I mean, other than like showering and stuff like that, like it just might be a weird dynamic between father and son and just arguing like that and shit. And like, hey, you're not leaving the locker room till you finish your dinner, like stuff like that. That's gonna be very interesting, very, very interesting. But other than that, man, it's definitely a different dynamic. I didn't think LeBron would make it this long. For him to actually have an opportunity to play with his son. So that's just crazy. And he still has 2 or 3 more good years in him.
Well, and that's why this is a story, because no one thought this would come to fruition. It's something that LeBron James said a few years ago, said that, you know, a dream of mine is to play basketball alongside my son. And now that possibility exists, here it is right before us. And the opportunity is for the Suns, if they potentially draft Bronny James at the 22nd overall pick, LeBron James would follow, because he stated that he wants to fulfill that wish. Now, there's been no reports that would happen. There's been more reports about Bronny James versus what LeBron wants to actually do. As you mentioned, Shams Charania, he had this report the other day, which stirred the hornet's nest again.
Yeah, Bronny James has over 10 workout invites during the pre-draft process, but I'm told he's only going to visit a couple of those, and that's going to include the Lakers and the Phoenix Suns. The Suns have the number 22 overall pick in the draft. He's under consideration there among, obviously, a lot of players at 22, but it's going to come down to the development plan. It's going to come down to guaranteed money, whether it's late in the first round, in the second round. But the fact that there's only going to be a couple teams, 2-3 teams that Bronny James visits, and the Lakers and Suns, interestingly, are among the 2 teams.
So there's a lot to take from that, in my opinion. You know, one, and I'll start with this, and let's just focus on Bronny James here. How about, you know, the LeBron thing is all ancillary, and that's why this conversation is spurring a podcast, is because we don't know the intention ultimately of LeBron James at the back end. But let's talk about Bronny James right there. So if you go to any major draft guide, ESPN, CBS, The Ringer, 3 weeks ago, when I wrote a piece for Bright Side of the Sun talking about the potential of LeBron James coming to Phoenix, if they were to draft Bronny James, Bronny James couldn't be found on any of those major draft guides. You couldn't find him in the ESPN Top 100. You couldn't find him in Kevin O'Connor's draft guide, which is kind of, to me, the holy grail of draft guides. You couldn't find him anywhere. And he had a good combine. Bronny James goes to Chicago, has a good workout combine, showcases some of his explosiveness, his quickness, and he gets bumped up a little bit into, I think he's 69 on the Ringer's draft board, but 69. But here we are, pick 22, talking about potentially drafting Bronny James. And the other side of this, well, let me ask you this. What do you think of the prospect that is Bronny James?
Well, I mean, all the scouts out there, he's not even on their list. I don't know if the Ringer, do they have 69 spots? Isn't it just 60?
No.
Wow, they bumped it up a little
You
bit.
got to up it to get
Bronny up there.
Bronny in there, yeah.
You have to, right? So he can be on the top, like the little graphic up top, so he can be up there. Yeah, so he's smaller, definitely. I think if you want him to be in the starting lineup with his dad, you have him at the point guard position. Obviously, if he comes to the Suns, he'd be coming off the bench, which then is just, that kind of scares me too. This is not talking about if LeBron's on the team or not, but if Bronny's on there, he saw his Clutch as his client, or he's Clutch's client. And that's going to be one thing where they're going to be pushing him to start. They're going to be pushing him to do whatever that they feel like he needs to be the most successful version of himself. And if that's an all-star, if that's whatever they think it is, they're going to be pushing the Suns to be doing, like, to be actually either working him in the starting lineup or getting rid of him. Or it's always going to be kind of like a circus, right? Because that's what they're going to do with their client, especially if it's LeBron James' son. So that's the scary part of it. If you're Devin Booker and the Suns and having that come in there, I don't know if I would be very interested for that reason. But also, I mean, I don't see anything. I mean, the workouts, I didn't see themselves. But even when he played at USC, it was kind of like the box scores are terrible. He basically played 0 minutes. Like, he had games he didn't play. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, is he going to bloom late? If we don't draft him and pass up on him, if we do have the opportunity for LeBron James, but just himself, then are we going to make a mistake? Is it going to be one of those kind of Giannis situations where he just might bloom into something else, maybe grow an extra couple inches, and he might be a really good point guard? And we're like, and everyone's like, how could you pass LeBron James' son? That might be a thing too.
Yeah.
So it's difficult, not just for the Suns, maybe every other team, but when the Suns are linked as the only two teams that he's interested in working out for, that makes it even more, a little bit more high risk, I feel like, getting him or just passing up on him.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit about the leverage piece here in a second. But as a prospect, he's nothing promising. Outside of his name, he's nothing promising. You look at his statistics at USC, and if you go to sportsreference.com, they have him listed as 6'4". I know that's horseshit. He's 6'1",
isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But last season with USC, 4.8 points per game, 36.6% from the field as a guard, 26.7% from three-point range, 67.6% from free throws. I mean, the kid just can't shoot. 2.1 assists a game, 2.8 rebounds per game. If this is anybody who doesn't have the last name James, you don't care. But he is being represented by Clutch, right? Clutch is doing a great job in what they do with Rich Paul, running it as his agent. He's leaking the stories. He's getting the stuff to Shams. Hey, only two guys. This is a prize thing. Only two teams is he going to work out for. He's already dictating his terms. He will not sign a two-way contract. This is not a two-way player. Well, he might be a two-way player. But I understand where you're coming from in the prospect that if you don't draft him, what you could be giving up is somebody who does come from a great basketball pedigree, obviously. Somebody who could potentially blossom a little bit, maybe get up to 6'4", 6'5", become a decent distributor. That's what the Suns need. If they're willing to develop him, then why not with the 22nd overall pick? Because no one we're going to draft the 22nd is going to be an instant impact player. Understand that, no. Suns fans. There's no one in this draft especially there's no Tumani Kamara who's drafted 52nd. There's no guy who's going to come in and people are like, oh, Zach Edey, he can come right in.
Well, there's one guy, there's one center from Baylor. His name's Messi.
Yeah, I do like Messi.
He's the only guy I like. That's it. But if trade the pick or get Bronny, I guess, if you don't get him.
And that's the gamble that you have to take right here is, okay, if we do draft LeBron James Jr., Bronny James, is he going to turn out to be a standalone pick on his own? No LeBron smoke behind it. Is it worth it? Or if you're the Suns, do you go, you know what? We're going to trade back. We're going to take the 22nd pick, and we're going to end up with the 35th and the 42nd overall pick. And we're going to get two players in here because we need to fill this roster. One of them will be Bronny James, and another one will be insert player here. So there's layers to this. Now, obviously, the leverage piece is what is becoming interesting to us, the Suns fans. I don't know if anybody has seen, but if you go to LeBron.com, they actually have a timer that says, like father, like son, and son is spelled S-U-N. it's got a countdown to free agency. So I don't know who runs this site. It's obviously not LeBron James .com site. But it's one of those little things where it's weird, it's strange. A lot of signs are pointing towards potentially LeBron James coming to Phoenix, right? David Fizdale gets brought back and will play a prominent role, quote unquote, from I think that was Shams as well, or Chris Haynes, or Adrian Wojnarowski, one of the three who I have notifications on, and says that David Fizdale will return and play a prominent role. Well, David Fizdale was with LeBron James and the Miami Heat when they were going through their run. And he was there the year after they won the championship in LA. He was there a year as a part of Frank Vogel's staff. So he definitely has a relationship with LeBron James. So a lot of signs are potentially pointing towards the Suns going after LeBron James. LeBron James has a player option this year. Okay, so he could choose to remain with the Los Angeles Lakers on that player option. Everyone thinks he's a free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent. No, he's got that PO, man. And it's on him on whether or not he wants to exercise it. He has till the day after the draft to exercise it. Now, granted, that player option is $51.4 million, Matthew. So I guess I'll ask this question. Do you think that LeBron would ever consider punting on $51 million to take a veteran minimum deal in Phoenix to play with his son?
Holy shit. Family over everything, right? You already have enough money, obviously. If you're LeBron, you're like, what's $50 million more dollars going to do, huh? What's that going to do for my family, I guess? Well, I guess it does help your family too. So that kind of screws that little observation there. But I just think that him playing with his son, to take that much of a deficit in money, like to take that much of a cut, it's kind of hilarious. But when you look at the totality of his career and how much money he's actually made, does it make a difference, really? I know that's a lot to us, but if he wants to play another year here and to see what happens at Phoenix and maybe he gets paid again, I don't know how that works, but he can probably do that. That's only if the Lakers want to draft LeBron James' son, then he can stay there, obviously, and take the money. Well, again, that's where we're just talking about the leverage. So I don't know, man. That's a lot of money, right? But he's had it plenty before.
It is. And I do know that Matt Ishbia has the United Wholesale Mortgage is now the official mortgage company of the NBA. Like, how about you just say, hey, I need a spokesman for that.
Sneaky.
Hey, yo,
Hush
LeBron,
money.
for $50 million, can you shoot a couple commercials for us? Boom, there's the money made up right there.
There's your
it's
money,
possible.
Yeah.
Now, you brought up a good point about the Lakers, and again, if he opts in and stays with the Lakers, he makes all that money, and they do have the 17th pick. They are 5 picks ahead of the Suns. Do you think this whole struggle back and forth, knowing that Phoenix is a constant carrot to be dangled in front of players who ultimately just go, I don't want that carrot. I wanted an orange anyways. Do you think that all this is a show because they want Phoenix to try to move up in the draft and jump the Lakers to get to 16 or 15 so they could take Bronny before the Lakers do?
That might be a thing. The fact, though, I really do think if the Lakers still stay ahead of the Suns in the draft, Clutch would tell the Lakers, hey, if you draft Bronny, he's being traded that same day to the Suns. Like, we're getting him to the Phoenix Suns if LeBron James wants to go there. So I just see it that way. I see that Clutch kind of just is manipulating both teams. They basically are just, they're making us the puppets, or the Suns and the Lakers, and they're controlling the whole situation. So I think Bronny will end up wherever Clutch and LeBron want him to be. Mm-hmm. But also, I think taking that cut is definitely something that LeBron would not do unless the Lakers were actually to bolster their roster. Because I'm just saying, because if you're looking at it from his vision, he's just seeing the Suns as a better roster, obviously, right? To win a title, if that means anything. So if the Lakers were able to actually make an adjustment to maybe trade Anthony Davis or something like that, because it's just not working, then I think LeBron just stay at the draft pick of 17 and let's just take him there, and I'll stay here in LA.
So I guess I'll ask you this question. I got about 3 questions to get through when it comes through to the LeBron James situation, because obviously Bronny James That's a conversation to itself. Should the Suns draft him because they want to get LeBron, or should they draft him because he might eventually address a need? Those are both valid conversations. Well, I guess I'll ask you that. Should they draft him because he could bring LeBron James, or should they draft him because he could turn out to be something we need, or should they just not draft him?
They should draft him only for LeBron James, not the need at all, because it's not there. He's not a real prospect. So
I agree with you 100%. Yep. 100% from there on that point of view. Should it happen? Should the Suns draft LeBron James Jr. to get LeBron James here in an effort to do so? Should LeBron James come into Phoenix happen? And if so, why?
Yeah, they should, because that's what we do here in Phoenix. We don't make real basketball decisions to create an actual team that can win games in the playoffs. I'm just kidding. No, they should. If nothing changes, where if we were to get Bronny James and as a result of LeBron coming to Phoenix, then yes, they have to do it to get LeBron here. There's nothing else the Suns can do this offseason to really help their roster. They have to settle with what they're at unless they get some old point guard to come over here. There's other options, and that's the most exciting option for Suns fans too. So yes, they should do it for many reasons. And if they end up with nothing but Bronny James and he is forced traded to the Lakers, then oh well, we still got the same roster and we tried.
Yeah, from a basketball standpoint, LeBron James solves a plethora of issues with this team. Yes. So why not try to take a stab at it? That's the way I look at it. What else you got to lose? Like you said, the 22nd pick. Like you said, we draft LeBron James and Jr. and his dad doesn't come here. Oh, darn. Now we have Bronny James Jr. Like I said, there's no one that I feel truly moves the needle at 22, so why not? LeBron solves the playmaking issues that we had last season. He's definitely somebody, especially later in his career, he wants to sit back and just dish the ball out. And with scores around him like that and his cerebral mind, it's like having CP3, but in a 6'9" body, right? He's that mentally in tune with all aspects of the game. So he solves that issue. Check mark. He solves a physical presence that can alleviate defensive responsibilities for Kevin Durant at the 4, which is something I was never a fan of all last season because, and even going into last season, I didn't want, from a defensive standpoint, KD playing the 4. I wanted him to play the 3. So LeBron James can do that. And he's a switchable player. Check mark. The biggest challenge with this team was the attitude. Now, I know LeBron James brings a lot of baggage with him. He's very calculated in how he navigates the media. He says the right things in his perspective at press conferences. I've noted in the past, one of the biggest challenges I have with LeBron James, one of the things I can't stand about him, is when they win, it's because of him. When they lose, it's because of everybody else. He's a me, not we kind of player. But he demands a lot of his fellow teammates. Demands, Matthew, demands. There was no demanding on this team last year. There was 2 years ago when Chris Paul was here. There was no demanding on this team last year. So if you think that the Suns are broken mentally, having LeBron James could assist in fixing that. So I think that from a basketball standpoint, when you ask the question, should it happen? I think it should be for all those reasons and then some. There's a lot of ancillary things that can occur if you bring in a LeBron James type. I guess the other question for you, will it happen?
No, it will not. The only reason is because it'd be too good to be true, man. It'd be insane to have LeBron and Kevin Durant on the same team. I just can't. I want it to happen, of course, but I just don't see it happening, man. I don't. Do you? I'll try to manifest it.
I don't think it will. And I don't think it will be for all the reasons that we stated at the top end of the podcast. That the Suns are always the leverage, but never get the reward. We're always the franchise that players go, hey, man, if you don't give me what I want, I'm packing my bags and I'm going to the Valley. Because guess what? It's gorgeous there in October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Once the playoffs happen, it gets real hot and everyone's like, fuck this, we're not playing anymore. But during the nice time of year, this is the place to be. And so they utilize that as leverage. And you have added leverage in LeBron wants to get another championship, right? How many does he have?
He has 3.
No, he's got 4. How many?
He has 2 with the Heat and then 1 with the Lakers, right?
One with the Cavs.
He's
too.
like 3 of 8. Oh yeah, 4. There you go.
Yeah, he's got
Sorry
4.
about
I
that.
think he's 4 out of 9.
I love, and then just wait for the Jamsters to correct us like always.
I know. They're like, hey, come on, get this right. But he wants, from a legacy standpoint, and what other legacy is there? What better legacy is there to help Phoenix win a championship? Right,
I know.
a long and arduous history. But then it begs the question, like, well, how do you? And I heard somebody say this on the radio the other day. Maybe it was Bickley, maybe it was Dave Burns. They're like, well, at some point you have to ask yourself, how you win a championship matter to you? No, I just want to win a fucking ring. I don't care how the fuck. If LeBron brings us a ring, then cool, great. But again, I don't think it'll happen because we want it to happen, because all of these breadcrumbs are pointing to it happening. And I go back to Kobe in 2004 when we thought we were going to get him, and LaMarcus Aldridge and Kevin Garnett and LeBron twice. It just never happens the way that we think it will. The Suns are rumored, and that's just where it ends. Draft day will come. The Lakers will take Bronny James at 17, which is way too high to take him as a prospect. And we'll just carry on with our lives and go, hey, remember back in late May, early June when we thought LeBron James was coming to Phoenix? And next year, Matthew, when we're talking about another big free agent, I'll mention this year in LeBron James.
I know, but could you imagine, though, LeBron's coming here for the assists, like breaking the assists per game for a season, which it would be about 15 assists to beat John Stockton, right? Averaging 15 assists, it's doable here in Phoenix with what we have around him. So it makes sense in that way if he wants to do that. Just continue to pile on the stats, take another leap at taking the lead at something else other than just points. So I don't know. There's something else here in Phoenix for that. And I love the fact that you did point out, and I think it's something to really think about, is him and just making a commercial for Matt Ishbia.
Yeah,
for insurance, and he'll give you the money. Dude, the guy has
$100 million.
He does not care. He's
Dude,
like, I'll double your
money.
pay. I'll double your pay for 1 year with the Lakers.
When I'm bored, I just DM Matt Ishbia on Twitter, and I just send him my Venmo. I'm like, hey man, if you want to help out the Suns fan base, this is a good way to start. He hasn't responded, but you know what? All it takes is one lazy shit on a Tuesday morning in his office, and he sees that and he goes, you know what? Fuck it. And I'm $10,000 richer. And then I probably have to declare on taxes or something.
Lazy shit.
It's all it takes. So again, the LeBron James saga, it will continue, and it's something to talk about right now as the offseason plows forward. I don't think it's going to happen. I hope that it does, but I don't think that it does, because I really, I'm going to reemphasize that. I really would like it to happen, Matthew, and that's coming from me, somebody who's kind of been notably an anti-LeBron guy. I just think he solves, like, if you're going to go down this rabbit hole of we are the Suns, everyone's going to hate us because the way we built the team, like, it's like Thanos, right? You've got like 4 of the stones, Infinity Stones, man. You just need number 5, and you just need to click and make a championship happen, right?
Yeah, I know. It'd be amazing. And I think the fact that you're on board, you're like the last person that would ever want this to happen. And just to hear that, it makes me want to cry a little bit.
Well, I think that's all we got tonight, man. What's the score of that game? I hear Luka's going.
It's over. Shit. It's over. I think they have the bench in or something. It's
all
over.
right. So Dallas and the Boston Celtics. Okay.
Yes.
Give me your thoughts on that finals before we get out of here, and who's winning.
Okay. I do think the Dallas Mavericks will win, which sucks. It still sucks for me. It will. The only reason it sucks is because I just think in the future we're gonna look back. Of course, right now it's like, fine. Let's enjoy Luka. Let's enjoy the powerful backcourt of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, and just how beautiful it is. The game of basketball, the guys that surround him, and how fun it is with the alley-oops. But we will look back and be like, damn, dude, if the Suns don't win a championship this next year with LeBron James,
we already look back and say, damn.
I know, exactly. That's why it hurts even more. It really does. But the fact is, it's like, who do I root for? The Celtics or the Mavericks? And I hate this. I do not like Jason Tatum. I can't stand him, but I don't think that Celtics team does not have it in them. They do not. And you always hear me say that all the time. They just don't. And I know they waltzed their way to the finals, but still, I I don't see them winning a title over a Mavericks team that's Luka and Kyrie. I can't see it. Who do you think is going to win?
So let me start by saying this. I know a lot of people on Twitter, and I've been less involved on Twitter. It's the nice thing about the offseason is I get less and less involved, and I start to see how people get invested in just bullshit conversations, and everyone's got to make a stand. It's just typical shit. And it's been nice to kind of just take a step back. I pop in, I look at things every now and then, and I just carry the hell on with my life. But one of the things that I saw is everyone's giving the Celtics shit. They're like, "Oh, easiest road to a championship ever." Like,
yeah.
So
I know.
Fucking so they went 14-2 or whatever, 12-2, whatever they needed to do.
12, yeah.
Yeah, 12-2. This is a team,
Yes.
and Porzingis got hurt. You know, everyone's like, "Oh, they had to play everybody. This guy was hurt and that guy was hurt." It's like, yeah, Porzingis been hurt too. Like, I just hate that narrative, and probably part of that is because people said the same thing about the Suns. Like, oh, so the Suns should have just tried to lose games because they're like, well, Anthony Davis is injured. I guess we shouldn't win. Like, get out. That's just a lazy
Kawhi
narrative.
gets hurt.
As Kevin Durant once told me, Matthew, do better, be better.
Be better.
That's a story for another day, Jay.
You should just have that on a poster. Just the one where he has like the ball with his jean shorts on, like the Michael Jordan, but he just has it.
Oh
in
my
one
god,
arm.
dude!
And just have it do better, be better with a Nike sign, or and just have your face like gradient behind.
Just in quotations, do better, be better. And just put Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I hate that narrative too. I really do,
Yeah.
because that's what they were faced with. Honestly, I don't believe in the Celtics team no matter what. But the fact is, like, the East, we talked about it before, they suck. Like, every time this happens in the playoffs, every time the playoffs do happen in the Eastern Conference, there's always that other team on the other side in the conference finals that just is not as good as the other team. And then the West, you always have it to battle to the end. So it's just time and time and time. It's always the same thing.
So Doug in the chat says, who you guys rooting for? I won't know who I'm rooting for until like halfway during the first quarter of the game. Because I can think of reasons why, as you mentioned, Matthew, not to root for certain teams. Like, there's reasons I don't want the Mavs to win. There's reasons I don't want the Celtics to win. I might not be rooting for anybody, and I'll just watch basketball. But as you watch basketball, you start to root for somebody. You can't help it. You're like, God, I really hope they come back. Or I just want a close game and all that shit. And that's probably how it'll end up. I don't mind if the Mavs win. I really don't. Like, I'm kind of over the whole, oh, man, we should have drafted Luka shit. And I kind of just want to see him go win one, man. It doesn't really bother me, I don't think.
Okay.
I want to see Kyrie win one. I'd like to see Kyrie win one because remember, and I hate to be the circle the wagon guy when you write on things, but we had these conversations a year and a half ago about Kyrie. We both were pro Kyrie. We're like, dude, bring him here. Like, I get the off the court shit, but I don't care, man. It's on the court. That's all that I care about. Like, I'm not hanging out with this guy on the weekend. He's not talking me into the earth being flat. We need somebody who could play the point guard position athletically, and he's it. So I wouldn't mind seeing it and seeing him win. I really wouldn't. Derrick Jones Jr., man, wins a championship before Book. Like, that's amazing. There's a ton of narratives out there that just, at the end of the day, they all equal the same thing. This sucks for the Suns. That's just the way it is. So I don't know if I care who wins. I say Mavs in 6, though, because I agree with you. Okay. I don't know, especially if Porzingis is healthy, it's a different series. But I think he's even supposed to miss the first 2 games, and this series isn't supposed to start for a week.
Dude,
it doesn't start till a week from tonight. So
he's gonna be a non-factor.
Yeah, he's not. So if they don't have Porzingis, they're not the same.
Let's go to 7 games, please. Let's just get a good series.
Okay.
And I don't care who wins either. I would rather the Celtics win because I don't want Luka to win one before Book. That's just the way I feel. I'll be able to sleep that night. I'll be fine. But then when we go back in a couple years and the Suns still have not won something, then I'll be like, fuck, dude, why did the Mavericks have to win 1? Or maybe they'll get 2 or 3 in a row because Luka is fucking insane.
Well, we'll see what happens with the NBA Finals, but it's nice that the NBA Finals is coming because the sooner it's the same thing as before we start every podcast. So what do I say, Matthew?
The sooner we start, the sooner it's over, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like, sooner we start recording, the sooner we're done. Same thing with the finals. Sooner it starts, sooner it's over. Sooner the offseason truly begins. We can get into the draft. We can get into free agency. We can see what this team's going to look like from a roster construction standpoint as we prepare for 2 things. the Summer Olympics, and NCAA Football 25 coming out.
Ooh.
So we have. I just want to get to that point. I want to get to that point. So
You'll get there.
we'll get you there. Doug Allen just said Drew Gooden passed away. Is that?
Did he really?
Oh, Drew Gordon, Aaron Gordon's brother. Okay, it was not any, but I knew who Drew Gooden was, like from a basketball standpoint. So the Kansas kid, right? He went to Kansas. So, well, R.I.P. to Aaron Gordon's brother. That sucks too, man. Jesus Christ. But yeah, this upcoming Monday we'll be doing Trade Machine Monday, which is Nasir Little this time. And have you looked at any Nasir Little trades yet, Matthew?
No, but I've always wanted to throw him in every trade, but I haven't started yet.
They're horrible. It's fucking horrible. It's going to be such a shitty podcast. So on that note, tune in, everybody. It's just, you can't, there's nothing out there. There's nothing. All you can look at Nasir Little is a salary dump and hope that somebody wants to take that salary. Like, that's literally it. There's not much out there for Nasir Little. So we'll do our due diligence in that capacity. I want to do better and be better. So, you know, that being said,
yeah, you gotta get the Nasir one out there.
Yeah, I gotta get the Nasir one out there, and then send that off to KD and just be like, "Hey, man, I'm not just trying to trade you." I
still think Maya B is Kevin Durant. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, where you at, Maya B? You enjoying Cancun? We'll see. Well, on that note, Champsters, again, thanks for hanging out with us on this Thursday night. We'll be going live again next Monday. Looking forward to talking to you again at that point. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review. And again, if you're on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button, man. Help us out. Like, I'd love to get to 5,000 subs. That'd just be cool. I'd walk around and tell people. No one would know what I'm talking about. Because only 5,000 people on the planet would know what I'm talking about. But that's what I'm aiming for. And two of them are like, one's you, one's me, and like another one's my mom. So it's like,
we got
only 4,997 people.
20% of it.
Yeah, we both come from big families, so that's 20% of our subs right now. We need actual people to subscribe. So, but it's always fun talking basketball with you, Matthew. That's all I got for tonight. Tell them what to do.
Go home, love your family.
Sooner we start, sooner we finish.
Call Suns Jam Session, post-game thrill. John and Matthew, podcast skill. Analyzing games with comedic flair. Since 2019, they've been right here. Suns Jam Session, post-game pod. Talking Suns ball with the Jamster squad. From the Valley of the Sun, spreading the word. Original podcast, haven't you heard? Subreddit stick out behind enemy lines. Batman, Valley, Lissy, and Curry combined. Reporting live with jokes to the brain, adding flavor to the podcast game. Suns Jam Session, post-game pod. Talking Suns ball with the Jamster squad. From the Valley of the Sun, spreading the word. Original podcast, haven't you heard? Subreddit stake out behind enemy lines. Batman, Valley, Lissy, and Kermit combined. Reporting live with jokes to the brain, adding flavor to the podcast game. Suns Jam Session, post-game pod. Talking Suns ball with the Jamster squad. From the Valley of the Sun, spreading the word. Original podcast, haven't you heard? Die-hard fans are just passing through. Suns Jam Session's got something for you. Lick the eyes to the feet, spit a bite with the Suns through the day and the night. After every game, don't miss the beat. Suns Jam Session is gonna bring the heat. John and Matthew leading